Aloha friends, it's Robert Stellick. Today's video is all about fixing scratches in your foil using a really simple method using this crayon-like solid marker. It's a low halogen Sakura marker pen. It's like a really thick crayon-like pen that you can apply to the foil. I made a video about this before. That was the first time I ever used this pen. Since then I've repaired a bunch of foils for friends, and I found this is a super easy and really good method to fill scratches in the surface of the foil, and it does actually improve the performance of the foil. So I have this foil here that I've been using for flat water paddle up starts. So it has a bunch of scratches on it that I'm going to repair, and I'm going to show you how I'm doing it. I also want to introduce this little repair kit that we're now selling at blueplanetsurf.com, which includes a marker pen, 2000 grit wet sandpaper, and 1000 grit little sanding pad. So that's everything you need to fix scratches in the foil. First of all, I should say that this method works really well on surface scratches. So if you have really deep gouges or holes in your foil, the best way to repair those is using 2-part epoxy and milled carbon fiber. That's a stronger repair, but it does take a lot longer because of the dry time, and then it's also harder to sand it smooth. So with this marker pen, it makes it much easier because it's quick to dry and then easy to sand off and get a really nice smooth surface. So the first step is to completely clean your foil. I'm going to use some rubbing alcohol to clean the surface. Okay, so now that my foil is nice and clean, I'm going to use the Sakura marker pen, low halogen pen, to fill all the scratches in my foil. Okay, so I've completely covered the surface of the foil with paint. All the scratches are covered. Sometimes you might have to apply 2 layers. So for example, I've got these really deep cuts here that weren't completely filled with paint. So what you want to do is make sure the surface is completely covered with the paint, so there's no low spots, because when you're going to sand it off, you want it to be level with the surface of the foil. So right here I've got a little bit of low spots, so I'm going to fill that some more. The paint really dries quickly. It only takes like about 5 or 10 minutes for it to be dry enough to apply a second coat, and then you want to let it fully dry for about 15 minutes before you start sanding it though. So I'm going to fill in some of the low spots here. Okay, so now I let the paint dry. It's dry to the touch. And one thing to mention is that you don't want to touch the paint when it's still wet, so because it's really hard to get off your hands. But once it's dry, it's ready to sand. So now I'm going to go over it with wet sandpaper, and basically the idea is to sand off all the extra paint that covers the surface. So I'm going to use the wet sandpaper to clean the foil. So I'm going to use a recycled container for the water, just to hold it water. I'm going to make the foil wet and the sanding pad wet. The reason it's good to use a little sanding pad is because you get a nicer, smoother finish, smoother surface. If you use a hand, it's easier to make it have more divots and so on. So I'm going to use the 800 to 1000 ultra fine grit sanding block, and mostly sanding it in the direction of the water flow. So I'm going to go front to back as much as possible so that the little grooves, the sanding grooves, are in the same direction as the water flow. Alright, so make sure you keep it nice and wet and start sanding. Basically sand off all the extra paint you got on there. Okay, so after finishing it with the 800 grit paper, I use the 2000 paper by wrapping it over this little sponge sanding block, and then wet sanding it using the 2000 grit sandpaper to get it a nicer, smoother surface finish. Alright, so there you have it, how to repair your foil scratches easily and quickly using our simple repair kit. Please support us by ordering it from Blue Planet down below. And if you've enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks so much for watching. See you on the water. Aloha.